It's definitely on his end. Yeah.
Hey, fat fish heads. It's time for another edition of the hottest new podcast on all platforms, Fat Fish. Sit back and strap yourself in for the wildest ride on the open seas. Now, flap your fins for the fabulous Fat Fish brothers, Eric Fish Snyder and Brad Grunny Grunberg, a.k.a. Snacks.
51, baby. What are you doing? You look great.
Yeah, got off work. I feel great. We're gonna have if we can get some technical stuff squared away. We got one of the funniest guys I've known. I was at this guy's first stand-up in 1985 at the Laugh Factory, and he's gone on to have a terrific career and a great comedy school. Having some technical difficulties. I'll try and bring him in. His name is Tony Vicich. And let's bring him in now, and then we'll do a little dedication. So let's see, Tony. Let's see if you work now. Can you?
There's Tony.
Can you hear us, Tony? Tony, are you there?
Tony. TV testing.
That's what Tony Vicich looks like, but we're gonna have to take him out again, and then maybe come back in again, Tony. I don't know what's going on, but we see you. We can't hear you. I can hear Brad, but I don't know what to do. So I'm gonna take you out.
Yeah, take
move you.
microphone out of your ass, Tony. There you go.
Hit the microphone out of your ass. How you been there, big man? Good?
You look great. Are you doing the tanning bed? You look fantastic.
Say again?
Yeah, you look like you have a tan. You doing the tanning bed?
It's hard to eliminate the static and just talk up because we haven't some technical. First of all, we're having a windstorm here in Las Vegas. Unlike, I don't know what the weather's like in LA, but we're having 70-mile-an-hour winds here. It's sick.
Wow. Looks like you have a tan. Are you doing the tanning bed, sir?
I don't know. Nah, I walk my dog and the sun's out and I have olive skin. What can I tell you? But I'll tell you what's really tan and really cool. And you live your life and you think about the people that make you laugh. And here's a guy we're going to dedicate our whole show to. You have a story about him. This is the great comedian Richard Lewis, who unfortunately passed away of a heart attack at the age of 76 yesterday. Many people know him from Curb Your Enthusiasm. Brad will give you a story about a movie he did with the guy. I had the chance of meeting him at Mom's Saloon. Look, this is years ago, but from what I understand, just a great man, funny. I saw his act. His act is phenomenal. Brad, talk about Richard Lewis because you know him better than I do.
You have a lot in common with Richard because you're two neurotic Jews. Let me tell you. I met Richard in the Fox commissary back in the late 80s, early 90s. He was doing a show called Anything But Love at Fox. And he was always so nice and so funny. I used to wait on him because, as you know, I was a waiter in the Fox commissary for 4 years. And then I did a movie with him called Robin Hood Men in Tights, Mel Brooks film. And he played the king. And he was incredible. I mean, the guy, I mean, Mel couldn't stop laughing. I couldn't stop laughing. Everybody, the crew, he was just so special, man. And then just a couple of days ago, I did I'm in a loop group. A loop group is when they lock a TV show, actors come in and put the voices in the background, like at a park or in a restaurant, because like if you and I were stars of the show, like our show, everybody in back of us in the restaurant would be miming, and then actors come in and put their dialogue in. And I did the last Curb Your Enthusiasm, and it was so good. I will not tell you what I saw, but Richard Lewis is in it a lot, and he brings it, baby. He brings it. Richard, I just want to tell you, you touched so many lives. You touched my life, and I'll never forget you. Getting a little choked up there. Sorry. but real special guy, real special guy. And he I mean, he fought Parkinson's, and sadly, he had a heart attack in his sleep, and he passed away. I hope he didn't suffer.
Talent. And he grew up with Larry David. They knew each other from the school days. I had the just absolute pleasure of seeing his act back in LA. God, I want to say in the late 80s, and his whole thing was making fun of himself and how he has neurosis, and he always said he could never get a girl. Then he finally gets a girl. He finally gets a girl of his dreams to go out with him, and they have sex on the first date, and the sex was great, but he was turned off though because she made him sleep in the wet spot. And the way he does it with the microphone, and you could just tell. Larry David was interviewed by Seinfeld on one of his comedian copy shows, and he says it's hard to work with Richard because if you watch me do Curb, and you did the show, you get this what the basic of the scene is, and then you got to improv and do what you think is great. Because if you watch me, I can't stop laughing when I'm around him. I look at him, he says something. So he had the talent, you have it, of appearing in front of an audience and making people laugh. And again, we're losing all the legends, but I know that Richard Lewis right now is probably up there with Don Rickles and your Nanny Klein.
At Deli Heaven, having a couple of corned beef sandwiches and some hot soup. By the way, if anybody wants to go back and see a perfect set, seamless set, is him when he was at Carnegie Hall in New York.
Right.
His special was unbelievable. I've watched it a couple times over the years, and he is just it was so good. He's so infectious. That's the thing. He's just that guy who grows on you and you love him. And
hey, Brad.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and bring Tony on again.
Okay, great.
So let's see if he actually is a funny comic for a guy who's invisible. But he's trying religiously to get on the show. Brad and I have a lot of fodder. This happens all the time in our business, folks. We are Fat Fish 51. Brad and I started our first show together absolutely a year ago today, March 1st. I was going through a crisis in my life, and I had a couple of losses, and I turned to this guy, and he said, let's do this. And I knew Brad. For all you new listeners and viewers, I knew him, acquaintance, a good friend that's an acquaintance, and now we've developed this relationship. I can't get rid of him, and that's put me in more. I'm more like Richard Lewis because of him. I got neurosis, but to celebrate, 51. It's wow, we're almost at 52, which is a year, but it's amazing. The fun and chemistry I feel working with this guy, and we say this on every show, but the fun and chemistry I got to bring to this guy is I got to bring up someone that's very important in Brad's life. This is about Brad today. This is Brad's most treasured, breathing element in his life. And I want to ask you, the audience, I want you to please get us at fishgrunny1@gmail.com. Who is the adult and who is the child here? You know what that is, folks? That's his wonderful dog, Annie. What a beautiful animal. That's Brad. He just found out that going through that's his third drive-through. He's found out that the kitchen's closed. So.
I can't believe it. I go, please help me. I'm starving.
Look at this. And Annie's like, Bradley, would you just relax? I'll give you some of my treats when I get home. Trust me, Brad. Yeah. You've had to try some of her treats. I just know you. Good enough for Annie, good enough for me.
I have to sample them to make sure they're not poisonous. But that was our third McDonald's, and I had to get Annie her chicken McNuggets, and of course, they didn't have my double quarter pounder with cheese, so I freaked out, man.
We're going to try and bring on a man right now.
All right, Tony V.
One of the dearest, actually a guy that I mentored with bartending. We had Ash Gindy on. I had Tony on a past podcast with you. Like I said, if we get him on, he's backstage right now. Let's hopefully he could hear us and talk. One of the funniest guys I've ever met. Had the pleasure of working with him at Mom's Saloon for 2 or 3 years. And I was there the first night he ever did stand up, and I said, I knew this fucking guy was funny because he's funny around people, but wow, what an act. So let's bring on Tony Vicich.
All right.
And hope we get the guy. Tony, can you hear us? I guess not.
Tony, are you
there?
there?
Where your act's been going lately?
Tony, have you ever done a podcast before? Tony.
Yeah.
Look at him. Can you hear us? Tony.
Tony.
Hello, McFly. George. Hello. Oh, this is going to go great.
Well, I'm in the show. I still cannot hear you guys at all.
I hear you now. We hear you.
So.
No, we hear you fine. Tony.
Nothing.
We hear you. Tony,
all right.
why don't you?
Hello. That's all I got for you right now because I'm like deaf.
Yeah. We'll try again. We'll figure out your computer. You might want to get one of Brad's relatives in the Geek Squad, but we'll try some other time, buddy. But we have a show to do. All right. Yeah. And part of the show is filler. Can you fucking believe the Golden State Warriors, the run they're on right now?
I'm telling you, don't count them out.
Don't count them out.
They just beat the Knicks.
I will tell you this. There's 17. First of all, we never talk about this. We talk about the NBA, it's your favorite sport. Where did Minnesota come from? They have the best record in the West. Yep. We never talk about them. Pelicans, Clippers, Lakers, I wrote it down. Suns, Nuggets.
Yep.
Your team, it's insane, you know. The Warriors, I'm probably missing 1 or 2 teams. I would bet you the sixth team in the West could go to the finals in the Eastern Conference.
Oh man, West is stacked, baby. Even the Lakers, man, they just won 2 games. They were down to the Clippers by like almost 20 points. LeBron was unbelievable. You know what's amazing about LeBron? He's like 38 years old, 39. He's playing like he was 18. He's 18 years old. I mean, LeBron still has it, man. Every night. Pretty incredible. Pretty incredible. I love LeBron, and I love what he does for the community, and he's just a legend, man. He's the all-time leader in scoring in the NBA. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar handed him the ball at crypto, and LeBron's unbelievable. I hope he gets to play with his son. That's his dream. He's done it all. He's won championships. Cleveland. He won a title in Cleveland, Ohio. Cleveland never wins anything, and he did it. Incredible, and really a special guy. What are you doing? What are you doing?
I'm listening to what you're saying. I agree. I don't have much of a back to that. I just think that the NBA is always trying to do something to compete with the NFL. They tried this play-in bullshit. I don't know. I still don't know how that worked.
I don't understand it either.
Halfway through the season, the Lakers won that. They hung a fucking banner at the crypto. It's now called the Crypto Arena. I go, come on, really? You know, that's like Brad winning all-you-can-eat contest at a Chinese restaurant buffet, and they give him a first-place trophy. Really? For the other 30 trophies he has from every other restaurant that he's competed in? No, doesn't work that way.
On show number 51, let me ask you this question. You are a funny man, but did you become funnier because of me? Yes.
Am I funnier because of you? You said?
Yeah, because you were not always this funny.
Yes, I was.
No.
Yeah, I'm quick. I don't have an act, but I'm funny.
Are you? All right. That's not what I hear over at your establishment, man.
Still no sound.
Oh,
sorry, guys. It's not going to happen.
Tony V, baby.
I still have no sound at all. I really apologize. I'm going to try a different device. I don't know if you can hear me. If you can hear me, raise a finger. Okay, but I cannot hear you guys at all. All right, I'm going to try another device.
Okay, keep coming. We got, don't worry. It's only our show, Tony. It was your show.
Thanks a lot, Tony. Really, really appreciate it, Tony.
So, Brad, I got a question for you. And then I'm going to go let my dog out. I have a dog, everyone, that gets insane. She doesn't understand I'm doing it. She thinks that I'm talking to someone outside, so she's trying to get outside because she hears Brad's voice. She's met Brad. You know, they fought over her treats, and she thinks Brad's outside. I'll be right back. Brad, the question to you is this.
Mm-hmm.
Steve Kerr was just offered a 2-year, $35 million deal. Has he accepted it? And two, is there any chance of him retiring? I'll be right back.
He accepted it. 35 for 2 years. And did you say retirement? No, he's not retiring. Why would he retire? He's still a young man. He's still bringing it every night. Steve, you know what's amazing about Steve Kerr? First of all, we have such history together. But Steve Kerr has, this team that he keeps together. You got Draymond, who's crazy. He's cray-cray. You got all these personalities, and he brings them together seamlessly. Steve Kerr is, and he's so humble. Every championship, he always stands in the background. He pushes the players up front. He's done it all. He's got 9 championships in total as a player and a coach. And I'm telling you, he's going to win some more. He is really special. But of course, he accepted the 2-year. Would you turn it down if Chuck's Tavern offered you $35 million for 2? Yeah. Look at you. Look at you.
See, that's why I'm funnier than you are. That's a bad analogy. A bar offering you $35
Oh, you're
million.
talking to me about analogies? Let me tell you. What about, do we have any questions from our amazing viewer?
Yes, we do. I always get this one.
Ask one. Come on.
All right.
Let's see.
Hang on. Let me access
Tell me
this.
you were great.
Okay, wait. I got one. Desiree Axelrod. Ooh, I like that name. Desiree Axelrod.
I like that.
Flint, Michigan.
Oh.
Yay, Flint. That's a tough fucking city. They've gone through the water problems there. It's always a question for Brad.
Thank you.
Ask Brad, what was his most special lift ride for the week? We should do a segment, right? Lifting with Brad.
Oh, that's
and
nice.
You tell me all the time, hey, Fish, I picked this person up, that person up.
Right.
Give me your best lift ride and story this week or last 2 weeks.
That's a good question. Let's see. What was the best lift ride this week? Well, I had the porno star. We talked about that.
Start there.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Here we go. I'll start with her. I went to Burbank, California. Excuse me. Had a ride in Burbank to Calabasas. Girl gets in. Her name is Kira, and she's like, blonde, like a cheerleader, girl next door. And I go, so Kira, how you doing? I'm Brad. What's going on? We making small talk. I go, what do you do for a living? She goes, I'm an actor. I go, oh, wow. I'm an actor too. And she looks right into my camera. I have a camera in my car. And she says, I'm not that kind of actor. Oh, boy. Yes, sir. Bob. Porno. I talked to her from Burbank to Calabasas. She answered every one of my questions. I asked her if she had to do it again, would she be a porno star? She said no, because my sister doesn't talk to me. She's from a little town out of Illinois. She is from a very religious family. And she just told me how much she makes, how much the guys make. She told me how her body is very sore because of the positions that she has to stay in for a long period of time, like you in the shower, Fish. When you're doing your military shower and you're thinking about things. Because we know Fish has told us before that he likes to relieve himself in the shower. So it was great. It was like a 45-minute ride, and Molly, I love you. Oh, give her a kiss for me, please. Give her a kiss. And a 45-minute ride. She was so cool. And gave her my card. I said, if you ever need a ride from the airport, she comes in 4 times a month, does her scenes, and goes back to that little town in Illinois. And I said, would you ever perform with me? She said, huh? What did you say? I said, would you ever perform with me? She goes, sure. She was lying through her teeth. But I dropped her off. I told her it was great meeting her. And then I shut off my Lyft meter, And of course, I'm such a gentleman fish that I had to look up her work online. Of course, right? That's what a guy like me does, you know? And boy, oh boy, was it special. Her first scene was a guy just interviewing her about what we're going to do today and this and that and where she's from and all that. And then they brought in this big time porno star and it was on, baby. Oy, oy. But yeah, she's wonderful.
Well,
Kira Cole is her name. Kira.
There's an addendum. She said, ask Brad how many rides does he do on an average day? And on this, and we talked about this in past, but it's still so funny.
Yeah.
If he goes on 9 rides, is a client in the back of his car on at least 3 of them to stop and get something to eat? And does Brad buy or they buy? And is that a way of them buying their lift?
No, they ask me. I've done that many times. People go, "Can you go? I'm really hungry. Let's go, and I'll buy you something." I get really excited. Let me tell you. Yeah, I'll buy them whatever they want. I'll go through the drive-through, and then they'll say, "You want something?" And of course, I say, "Of course." And I buy 10 hamburgers and 14 French fries and 15 Cokes. But no, average rides, I go 9 to 15 a day. 9 to 15.
9 to 15.
Nine minimum, 8 or 9 minimum to 15. The problem is it takes so long to do the ride because of the traffic in Los Angeles. So I might spend an hour trying to get somebody across town. I only have so many hours. I get out of the car, halfway through my day and I stretch, because, you can't be in the car so long. You got to stretch your body, stretch your legs, all that good stuff. But I meet all sorts of characters. I'm telling you, all sorts of walks of life. This one woman I picked up yesterday, she had a plane ride waiting for her to go back to her hometown of Sacramento, California. And I go, oh, okay, great. We'll make it to LAX. She goes, LAX? I'm going to Burbank. I go, what? So I had to go from the city of Beverly Hills all the way to Burbank. And I was, I told her, I made her like a gentleman's bet. I said, if you get on that plane, next time you come in, you got to buy me In-N-Out burger. And she said, and she made it. It's the 5th time that somebody has started off late to get to their plane, but I'll do anything for my clients.
Okay. I'm scowling through this thing. I'm listening to everything you're saying to the clients. Here's a stupid question. Yeah. Sorry. Tyler Dubois. Okay. Fargo, Dakotas.
Yes.
Tyler Dubois. I know I got your name right.
Tyler.
Do you think, Brad, in the history of every Lyft or Uber driver, they pick the client up and they've had sex? Pulled it over and had sex. I can answer that question. In the history of Uber or Lyft, yes. Yes. Not me personally, but I guarantee you, if a woman walked into Brad's, a semi-attractive woman, if Rosie O'Donnell or someone like that, which is probably the best that Brad can get, was in his Lyft, and she said, Brad, I want to, turn off Mulholland, and we're going to find a spot.
Yeah. And
I'm going to do to you what you wish that, all the girls you pay for in the establishments do to you. It's happened before. Do you think, Brad, that in the history of Lyft and Uber, have there ever been sexual excursions in the car?
Yes.
No?
I've been, believe it or not, because I make people laugh. It's crazy, but I've been propositioned a couple times. Yep. Oh, yeah.
I don't believe it. What was his name?
The other day, asked for my number. She asked for my number. What? What's the guy's name?
What was his name?
Listen, you just close your eyes, it all feels the same. What are you talking about? I love everybody.
Hi, Brad.
I love. Okay. No, I'm a straight guy, but I love love. Listen.
I'm just saying, it doesn't matter who hits on you. It's still,
hey. Here's one. I went to West Hollywood.
It's still, no.
You want to hear the story?
It's still, it's still heartwarming when someone hits on you, no matter what gender they are. Brad was going to be
you want to hear
an
an
audition for a movie where aliens came and abducted humans, and for the sole purpose of having sex with them. And they brought Brad up there, and they said, forget it. They saw him naked. And, they dropped him without a parachute in the ocean, but he floated, and it's all good. We're going to tack Stop bullying when you have fun with this. All right, you make fun of me all the time. You know, wait. Watch my hair without the hat. Watch Brad's face.
Tyler's question. Oh, that's a piece. That's definitely not your hair. That's all stitched in. Look at that. Oh, that looks good. Yeah. Where did they take the hair from? Your asshole or your pubes?
Oh, that's funny. That's really classy. That's funny.
Let me talk to Tyler for a second. Brad. Can you stop talking for 1 second?
Yes, you asked me where I got that hair.
I know. No, I didn't answer it. You ask yourself that question. Let me answer Tyler. So I get propositioned by straight people, gay people, bi people. And this one guy the other day, I went to West Hollywood. I had a call. I picked him up and I drove him somewhere, and he was being very friendly, very, very friendly. And I was just me, very nice, But, love is love, man. I'm going to tell you something about you. Live your true self, whatever you are, straight, gay, bi, whatever. Just don't hurt anybody, and we're all good, So
every time you preach them, go be mean. What about you? Mean. You know what? The question was in the history of Lyft or Uber, do you think the driver has had sex in his car with a potential client? Yes. You've been propositioned, so my thing is yes, many times. I bet you look, I don't know who started Uber, who started Lyft, but maybe some of those execs who, look, it's just human nature. Who knows? You're driving someone and the girl could think you're attractive and say, pull over.
But you know what, Fish, this is the interesting thing. People open up to me about their lives and ask me questions. I'm kind of like a therapist, and I never see them again. I give out advice, free advice. People are going through a tough time. I'll talk to them. People tell me great things about their life. Doesn't matter. But I'm very good to my clients, and I'm always there for them. And I like to talk because the ride goes faster. Yeah. And listen, it's a great way to make money. If you're down on your luck and you need a job, Lyft. Don't go Uber. Uber, they're like Nazis.
Don't do that. We have Uber people to watch in the show. I take Uber. I have both. I
tell you stories about Uber. I like Lyft. I'm just telling you. And a lot of people get in my car and say I like Lyft better than Uber. That's just how it is, man.
Wait, I'm a huge football fan, right? I'm going to segue into this. I don't care how you make the NFL. There's this new spring league called the UFL. It's giving people second, thirds, and fourth chances. So now I'm going to try and give Tony Vicich a fourth chance to get on.
All right.
This guy is. I love the aggressiveness. Tony, can you hear us?
I can hear you guys. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hey!
Oh my God.
Hey. Boy, I'll tell you what. Do you teach us in your comedy school how to fuck up coming on stage?
I can't explain it. I have the phone I'm using right now. I started using phones during COVID because the connection was more secure. And my better phone is what I was using this morning. And for some reason, no sound. This is an ancient phone. This is a 4G phone from forever ago. But I told Eric I was going to talk to him today. Here I am.
I have a question for you, Tony. Do you have any Richard Lewis stories?
Yeah, I do, but they're they're kind of one was I was hired to produce a film a long time ago. The film didn't go, but like most of my film entertainment career as opposed to live career. So we were in talks with Sean Young from
Stripes.
Yeah, to play the mother. The story was about these kids starting a band. There was a mother and father played a mother. And we had like a 3-hour lunch with her, and all she did was try to sell us on hiring Richard Lewis. And it took me about an hour into lunch. And he was so wrong for the part. Part was a working class guy like in Pennsylvania that wore wife beater T-shirts and smoked and drank and just snarled at people. And I go, how will Richard Lewis play this? I don't know. I'm getting laid off. They won't give me any overtime. I'm in hell. Well, you kids, you think you're going out dressed like that? It wasn't going to work. It just wasn't going to work. And then before that, these are like weird little Hollywood stories. Way back in the 80s, I was on a day date with this girl. Just a day date where you're like, You go to the Hard Rock, then you go to Melrose, you go to Tar Pits. And by the third place we went, I go, that's the third time I've seen Richard Lewis. He goes, oh, he's obsessed with me. So he's following me and this girl around all day, all over Los Angeles, because he liked this girl. And I was going to go over and go, look, pal, you know, I'm going to break your face or whatever. You're a weirdo. But I was in entertainment and I thought, well, he's kind of a star. And that's how you get compromised in entertainment right away. That I didn't go punch him in the mouth for following me and his girl around like a creeper. So those are my Richard Lewis stories. God bless him. He was a very funny man.
Was Richard the creeper or were you the creeper?
No, I went to creeper. I was out on like a date. It was like a casual, like a pre-date date. Let's just go walking around LA. You know, let's go walk up down Melrose and go into Aardvarks and all these places, clothing stores and stuff on Melrose back in the day.
Right.
And he was following us around.
What happened?
That makes him the creeper.
Yeah, what happened to that girl, Tony? Did you end up dating her for a while?
No.
Oh.
No, I did not. She was
That's a surprise.
I did not. She had just broke up with Tony Danza. So and Sylvester Stallone was also chasing her around. So but you know, it was,
oh, that's funny. Stallone and Tony Danza. And
she was dating Stallone. Stallone was chasing her with Tony Danza.
Oh, that's funny.
She just broke up with Tony Danza, and she took a shine to me briefly, and we just went on this date. This is like an 84, early 85 or something. Yeah.
Did she date
when
you for your personality?
When I found out you're coming on the show, it's so good to see you. We go back to 1982, Tony and I. I had a girl, Melissa McFadden, we used to work with the Mom Saloon, send me this. This is Tony and Eric in 1983. Look at that.
Oh my God.
There we go.
There you go.
Look at Tony, man. Tony's that Missouri smile. I mean, oh my God, man. Girls are lying with the bar just to stare at our asses. I swear to God.
Is there a red mark by your picture? Is there like a we did it with him red mark kind of thing? Did it, got it, don't need it, like a trading card?
Tony,
oh
that's
God. I don't know how she did that, but I said, wow, I got to show that to Tony. When we worked at Mom's Saloon. You know, Tony, you and Brad, I'll get in front. I want to ask you about your great career. I was there at the Laugh Factory when you first started. You have mentored hundreds of comedians with your comedy school. And I couldn't wait to ask you this question because since the last time I talked to you on a podcast, a guy named Will Smith walked up in the Academy Awards and slapped the shit out of Chris Rock. And I heard Bill Burr, Dave Chappelle, and Sebastian Maniscalco say this could really screw us. You know, with people thinking all the hecklers and anger out there. One, do you approach that in your school? And two, were you worried about it yourself going on stage that you could be attacked? Because you know how people are. It's a copycat world.
Yeah, well, that was such an odd thing. Yeah, we certainly approach how to deal with hecklers, you know. But secondly, that kind of stuff has gone on forever, just maybe not at that level and on camera. You know, it went on. I've had guys come at me on stage. I've seen people. I've owned clubs where we've had to, you know, physically restrain and throw people out of the club. So all you saw there was something that it's a rare occurrence, but it happens.
Yeah.
You know, some drunk, you say something to trigger someone. There's a funny story. There was an X-rated ventriloquist, Otto and George, out of New York. And I used to hire him. One time I hired him to work a club I owned in Oklahoma City. He just didn't show up. Steve Sharippa, who was the entertainment director of Riviera later on The Sopranos, now Blue Bloods, was his manager. And Steve, it was the first time I was able to get Steve to apologize because Steve was a real ball buster, tough guy, you know. Hey, you got to do what I say. So he's going, I'm sorry, Tony, I don't know what happened. So George had a terrible crack addiction. And one day I'm swimming to Pool Riviera and he's standing there going, I'm 3 months sober, I'm sorry, and shoved some money in my hand. But to get to this guy was a totally X-rated ventriloquist. The dummy said the most horrible stuff in the world to people. And he used to work in Central Park on Sundays as people were walking by and just say stuff and maybe throw money in the bucket. So the story goes, there was a Puerto Rican kid and his girlfriend walking by, and he starts going, "Hey, look at you, yeah, blah, blah, blah," and just in, "Hey, nice tits on her." And the story goes, the Puerto Rican kid just staring at the dummy and staring at the dummy. Finally pulls out a switchblade and stabs the dummy, and then goes running off through Central Park. And the dummy's sitting there with a switchblade sticking out of his wing chest. "Come back, you can't hurt me." So, Chris Rock gets slapped, the dummy gets stabbed. This is life, my friends.
Yeah.
Well,
Sorry, I had to go for a minute. DoorDash was here. Okay.
Ah.
Come on, give it to me there, Fish. There, Tony V is laughing. Thank you. Hey, Tony, let me ask you a question about Fish. Do you think Fish is funny, or do you think he's funnier now than he was when you met him?
Well, I haven't spent a lot of time with him now, but if you're going to look at some sort of mathematical trajectory of human progress, the experience a person has had, how it's tempered with time, it's probably not fucking funny at all. No, he's actually funnier now. He was always a funny and vibrant, and charismatic, and far more likable than me because I'm surly a lot of times. I'm like, look at these bums coming in the bar.
Got a great story. Tony and his brother Jerry, they're from Washington, Missouri, right? And we hire a guy.
Well, St. Louis, Hot Springs, yeah.
With the Grammy Award, and the General Hospital, great career. They're big St. Louis Cardinals baseball fans. So we jump in Jerry's van. Jerry's got this old van like the one in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. We open up, the smoke comes out. We go to Dodger Stadium. Now, Wagner is already on General Hospital for about a year. He's a star. But when he's around these guys, the Visichs, right? We get into the stadium and we're sitting in the bleachers. I'm trying to remember this. And look, I don't know, man. People are gonna bother Jack. Well, the Dodgers get up like 2-0. We're drinking beers, and these guys are wearing their Cardinal stuff, and I'm wearing Dodger, and they're getting heckled, right? And Wagner's F you, and next thing you know, man, it came to brawls, and I thought, this is the typical guy from Missouri, like Tony. Doesn't matter how successful you are. You're gonna fight anyone that gets in your way. I'll never forget that story about you guys, and I remember that, So, remember Jack Wagner, Tony?
I remember Jack well. I mean, Jack. When I first met Jack, you and I are old enough now to have known people before they were famous, and now well after they're famous. Because Jack's a very talented guy. If you mention his name to most people now, you go, what? It's like when I tell people that I was friends with the lead guitarist of Sex Pistols. They go, was that a movie about a gunslinger who's screwed? But the first time I met Jack was at Sloan's on Melrose, another place they tend to bar. He goes, "Hey, I heard you're from Missouri." "I'm from Missouri." I went, "So what?" So I didn't really care. But yeah, I remember Jack well. Who doesn't?
Hey, Tony, I got a question for you. Tell us about your school. Comedy school. Has anybody ever come out of your comedy school and make it big?
As a matter of fact, yes. We actually have someone who could be considered a current success by most metrics and standards. A number of years ago, a woman came in and said, "Look, my son wants to be a stand-up comic, but he's only 15 or 16. He's too young to go to bars, so I figured I'll roll him into this school." He said, "Okay." And at first, I didn't really notice anything. You don't notice it. It's like looking at babies. They're all laying in cribs, and they're all laying there just, But after a while, he started going, this kid maybe has got something. And a couple of years in, I told him, I go, "Look, you should move to Los Angeles." He said, "You're young, you're not married, you don't really have a job you're focusing on." I go, "Give it 10 years. If it doesn't work out, you can come back and sell real estate." But he's a skinny kid. I said, "And if you don't move to Los Angeles, save up your money, I will beat you up, and I can beat you up. I physically am able to beat you up. Not most people, but you." So the kid moved to LA, struggled, starved, this and that. Anyway, he's on Saturday Night Live now. It's Michael Longfellow. Went from our school to Saturday Night Live. Prior to that, another guy, like a kind of a poor, broke kid from West Phoenix, who had a lot of ambition, a lot of smarts, came out the first time he was ever in Los Angeles, slept in my futon when I had a place up in Chatsworth, up in the hills. Chatsworth, California. And there's Josh McDermott, who parlayed a stand-up career into like 7 years on The Walking Dead as Eugene. So yes, Virginia, there is a sanity clause.
When you have your school and you're the mentor and you that run the school, can you tell Tony off the bat if someone has talent right off the bat, and you say, okay, this guy could be a star? You know what, you better do something else.
No, I mean, that's opinion and that's bias. I mean, and we all have opinions and bias, and I certainly have them as well. And I try to keep my opinions and bias out of that whole process. I tell people, I go, look, if I have the next Eddie Murphy in here, I don't want to mess with that. Right now there's a big move to get people to work clean again. I go, well, if I've got an Eddie Murphy, why am I trying to get him to work clean when his real thing is going to be totally something else? So you can't tell. There are people who you think, you go, this kid's got it, but, they flame out or they lose interest because there's more to it than just raw talent. The funniest people I know are not in everyday life, are not stand-up comics. Just off the bat, Eric was always really funny to hang out with all those years. A guy named Lance Lane, who's a director and writer. We just wrote a sitcom script together that sold. After decades, we sold a sitcom script. We haven't made it yet, but we sold it. Good. So, and there's people you think this kid's never going anywhere. You can allow yourself to think that they're the ones that go on. Like I said, the first year or two with Michael Longfellow was just another kid in the class. You go, no, it's okay.
One more question, Brad.
Yeah.
And I'll let Brad talk.
Okay.
So that's on the back of my mind. We this whole different thing that we're all around the same age about woke culture, and you got to say things. And you got to when you're bartending, you can't tell jokes anymore because it's insane this world we live in. Now that we're approaching 2024 election, and it looks like we're going to have a rematch of 2020. What advice do you give the comics on how to handle that so you don't piss off the right or the left, or you give a shit? Because Brad and I play two different sides about it because it's amazing how if you're one side, you'll turn off the podcast because I say something wrong about someone. And can it get kind of sketchy that way in comedy?
Yeah, but it always has. That's what's kind of lost right now. You see, there was this window that opened up a few years ago of anything goes, but it had never been like that. It used to be you can't say that on television. You were very restricted on what you could say and what you could show on television. You're very restricted on what you could say and show in movies. At one time, if you received what's considered pornographic materials in the mail, a magazine or something, that was a federal crime. So, Lenny Bruce was constantly arrested for what he said on stage. George Carlin had to fight, for years all the way to the Supreme Court. So it was always like that, except for a brief period of time. It's still open now. People may turn off your podcast, but the police aren't knocking on your door knowing what you've said is against the law.
Hey, Tony.
Yeah, if you want to go,
I'm sorry.
If you want to go on stage and say, I hate Joe Biden, make it fun. I always tell people, say, be funny first. I have comic friends of mine who are 100% on the other side of me politically, but they'll tell a joke and I go, that's a funny joke. A guy who works for me is pretty much the polar opposite of me politically, but he's my friend and he works for me or works with me, and he'll write jokes that are total opposite of mine. I'll help him and make those jokes better because it's not my job to go, oh, you shouldn't make fun of Biden or Trump. That's not my job. Now I don't do a lot of politics on stage because most people, if they're going to see me in a show, I don't do a lot of shows anymore, but if I do, they're not coming out to see generally Tony Vicich. They're coming out to see a comedy show Tony Vicich happens to be on. Almost all clubs are like that.
Hey, Tony,
you're not a draw.
Yeah, I got a
What's
question
that?
for you. So, you said you lived in Chatsworth Hills.
Yes.
That's where they film all the pornos. That's called a callback, everybody, because we were talking about the girl. Yeah. So,
Well, yeah, I'll get to that. I'll come back to that. So my job when I'm on stage.
Did they ever film a porno in your house? That's my question.
No, they never filmed a porno, man. They did it on my porch, on my roof, in my carport, out by my mailbox. Look, I moved up there because of the Lone Ranger, man, not because of porno. I mean, this is where I can show you where Lone Ranger Rock is, where the Hi-Yo Silver thing happens. So I was always enamored of that. That's also where 24 was filmed. And it was very rural. And the whole porn thing is not so much that they were filmed there. There were some filmed there, you could go, hey, I recognize those rocks. But there was a giant VHS distribution center in an industrial park in Chatsworth. So in those days, if you were going to an adult bookstore or having them sent to you and it'd say, from Chatsworth, California, so that became like, yeah, I used to shop at the Ralphs up in Porter Ranch. Nobody's walking around in their porno clothes. They're not playing Bow Chicka Wow Wow over the loudspeaker, You don't see some girl, storing up on giant cucumbers. It's just regular stuff.
Right.
I got a lot of grief for it because I moved up there and I had a daughter. I have a daughter. But I go, this would be a great place to raise her. It's real rural out here. There's nobody out here. There's like rocks. We can go hiking every day. And I tell people, I'm moving to my daughter. I go, your daughter? I go, that's equestrian. They go, oh my God. And I go, no, it's not. So Chatsworth is more than that, although it was that.
What are you doing now, Tony? Tell us, promote some stuff you're doing. We'd love to hear it.
Yeah, we're doing a lot of Phoenix-centric stuff. I ended up here. I've been doing this now for going on 24, 25 years, which is astounding to me. Because that's how old you get. We have a contest coming up that we're doing on the east side of town and west side of town, and the grand prize will be $1,000 and a trip where we'll pay for the airfare and hotel to Hong Kong, China, to work at the Takeout Comedy Club. We thought that'd be a cool contest to send a kid from Phoenix to work a club in Hong Kong. So that's something that we're doing right now. We put on shows all over the city all the time. So
nice.
It's kind of what we got happening.
Is there any cognitive skills that are missing with you? Because I remember when we were kids, we used to go to all their home Raider games. And you love the St. Louis Football Cardinals with Terry Metcalf and Jim Hart. Now yes. I see you at every goddamn Clipper game. I don't remember you ever going to a bat, and I don't see any Raider stuff with you. Who are your sports teams, Tony Vicich?
My sports teams are it's always kind of shifted around for me. I came from a boxing family, which was tough for me because I have no boxing skills. So you're born into it with no genetics. So I grew up with boxing, watching Wednesday night the fights, Friday night the fights, and the St. Louis Baseball Cardinals. Those were my teams, and then over time shifted to the St. Louis Cardinals. I moved to LA, and the Raiders moved to LA, and you and I were hanging out, became a big Raiders fan. But over the years, the Raiders have not done a lot to hold on to my loyalty. I know you love them. I know they haven't,
That's not the Tony I remember.
Not fair weather. Look, after a while, it's like moving to Alaska, and after a while going, it's not going to get warm. So let's move on. So years ago, my daughter joined a basketball league, and I thought I should take her to an NBA game, and I couldn't afford Laker tickets. So I took her to a Clippers game. We had a ton of fun. We started doing that. It became like a dad-daughter thing. Well into her adulthood. She lives in Northern California now. So that's how I became a Clippers fan. Now, they're starting to revert to, if you saw the game against the Lakers the other night, went, yeah, that's my Clippers. You blow a 21-point lead. You're out there like you're the practice squad now. But yeah, I became a Clippers fan.
We got feedback.
Trying to follow the Arizona Cardinals. They're tough to follow, because they're terrible, and there's no Super Bowl in their future. So yeah, I follow the Clippers, a little bit of baseball,
Yeah,
but the Raiders,
I'm trying to
They
channel
kept
the early
moving.
Vicich that I knew. We had great times going to Raider games, and
We had great
I told you, whenever the Cardinals came into Dodger Stadium, I had a fun time. I met this guy bartending. You talk about Mom's Saloon, Brad, how much you love Mom's Saloon. This guy's in the original lineup. The original lineup, day one, was Tony Vicich, Ash Gindy, Chris Fickle, and Eric Snyder. I mean, talk about murderer's row.
Tony,
Yeah, I remember that.
Tony, do you have any great stories about Fish back in the day at Mom's? He claims he was a ladies' man, but I don't think so.
He was a ladies' man because he liked to dress up like a lady. No, yeah, I don't know. You know, this is a big debate now. I just written a book of short stories, and I haven't touched on those times, you know, in this group of short stories. But I've changed names and mixed up experiences because a lot of people now are grandparents, or they've, you know, or they. I have a friend of mine who was a teacher who used to party with the kids back in the day. This is way back. I knew Eric, who then became kind of a muckety muck in their new business. And when they found out I was writing stories, they go, "Are you writing all the stories?" And I went, "I have no idea what you're talking about." Because then I could destroy that person, you know. But what are you pointing at the Raiders? What do you? They're not going anywhere.
Such great man. Tony, I want you to talk. Remember this. You just said the Arizona Cardinals. The year that we had season tickets and went to the Raiders, they won the effing Super Bowl that year. We were playoff.
No, I still hold out hope for them. Look, you know, you grow with parents. You know, look, you have to evolve in life. You know, and after a while, it's just. I tell the Raiders, I go, it's not you, it's me, and I just think I should start seeing other teams.
You know what the Clippers are? The Clippers are what Ozzie Canseco is to Jose Canseco, what Don Swayze is to Patrick Swayze. The Clippers to the Lakers, it's like the Angels and the Dodgers. You like a team in the Clippers that's you cannot compare the Raiders. One quick question. How long have you lived in the Phoenix area, Scottsdale? Except why did you take your daughter to a Suns game? Why the Clippers?
Well, no, this was back in the early 2000s. I was living in Los Angeles. I had a business out here. I used to commute every week. So I have taken my daughter to Suns games. My wife and I recently, a few years back, did have season tickets to the Suns. You know, so, you know, Suns are going over. The Suns and the Clippers are the same. You know, they've been the same. The Clippers were always a horrible team, except for those years in the 90s or years with Elton Brand and Corey Maggette, and they made the playoffs. And then they've been pretty steady playoff contenders, you know, since the Blake Griffin era. That's what we call it, you know. But like the Suns, they're just never quite going to get there, you know?
Hey, Tony,
so
we're starting a new segment on the show. Fish doesn't know about this. We ask all our guests the same question. What was your first job as a kid?
Take it out Mrs. Cutmeyer's trash.
Really? How much did you get for that?
Like $0.25 a week or something.
And what's her name? Mrs. who?
Mrs. Cutmeyer. She lived across the alley. We lived in the inner city of Old North St. Louis. And Mrs. Cutmeyer was an old lady. And I, you know, to ask my dad for allowance. Would you go out and work if you want money? And go over there and ask these old ladies if we can take out their trash. So I went over, Mrs. Cutmeyer, you know, threw her one tooth, you know, with a thing tied around her head, goes, "Okay, I'll give you 25 cents a week." I was like 7, you know? So, and then one day I came home crying, and I told my mom and dad, I go, "The way you cry?" I go, "Mac took my job." I'm crying. They go, and this is how I grew up. They go, "You don't take that. You go fight that kid. You go beat that kid up." I go, "You understand? He's a grown-up man." It was like this guy who lived next door to her, guy named Mac, told her, he goes, "I'll take your trash out for you, Mrs. Cutmeyer." And then she figured she saved herself $0.25 a week and fired me.
How about a nice hand for Mrs. Cutmeyer, everybody? Yes.
Mrs. Cutmeyer.
Oh, my gosh. That's hilarious.
That was my first job.
That is wonderful.
And the first lesson in life, that there's always someone bigger than you who wants to undercut you.
Tony, we really enjoyed this. I'm so glad you saved the day and you found the volume. You found us. And I
had to use a whole different device, and I had to update it, and it was. But I wanted to talk to Eric, Eric and I were, you go through those periods in your life where you see someone every day and they're intertwined in your life and you help them and they help you. And, important parts of my life. When I first got sober, Eric was there during that time. We had wild, crazy times. So you don't see him that often anymore. So now the only chance I get to see him or talk to him is here. So I wasn't going to pass up the opportunity.
Oh, it's wonderful. You tell some great stories, and Eric talks about you fondly. Thank you so much for being on our show. And
that's it now? I only get a half hour because I should get another half hour.
We want to get you the fuck out of here so we can
We'll
really
get you back.
We love Tony.
You owe me a half hour. You're just like Mac. You're trying to fire me from my job.
Mrs. Cutmeyer just called. She wants you off. Oh, man.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tony. You take care. Stay healthy. Stay well.
All right.
Thank you. Oh, my God. That guy is the best. He is great. Wow. He's the real deal, huh, Fish?
Oh, he is. He's we partied a lot. Him, Ash, and I, and his whole story didn't go to it. He partied too much, and then when he was in rehab, he met another comic and said, "You're funny." And then he just started doing live mic nights at the Laugh Factory and the Improv and places around LA, and he's got one of the top comedy schools in the Southwest, and he's doing very, very well. It's a success story from a guy that was in the dumps and found his niche, sort of like you, a guy that's in his that's always you're the guy you always root for. There's movies about you all the time. A guy's down his dumps that always comes out on top, and that's Tony. And you're both funny. You guys, what Brad Grumber and the Tony Vicich do is they use humor, because you told me, and we're going to segue. You when you were bullied, you used humor to get out of it, right? And you didn't take it home with you. But now, I lost a bar boss, and the guy, I forgot there's a guy who wanted, Mick ran something. God bless him. Congratulations. The bar boss was the thing about bartenders getting involved with the Be Kind Foundation about stopping bullying. Well, we found one. Brad, talk about that.
Molly Klein, she was a sweet 13-year-old girl, and she got bullied relentlessly at school, and then it continues on the cell phone. And last year, she took her own life at 13 years old. My dear friend and brother, Andrew Klein, that was his daughter. And we have Molly's Challenge now to help people who are bullied and to eradicate bullying in schools, because it's just a terrible, terrible thing. To be bullied is bad enough in school, but to be bullied 24/7 on the cell phones and all that stuff is just unacceptable. And I just, want to give a shout out to Molly. We miss you every day, and we love you. And in your memory, we are going to make a dent into this bullying. And we're going to definitely do it on this show, right, Fish?
We do, and there's I've gotten emails saying, you pick on Brad sometimes. That's fun jabber. I'm not bullying Brad.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Exactly.
It's fun. And we talk about the eating. He talks about my hair. Bullying is when you become vicious on somebody and you attack their character and you attack their spirit and you break it. And this is an epidemic we have in the country. And if you're a bully, you're a coward. You're a fucking coward. All right.
Amen.
And I remember when I was a kid, I got bullied by a kid named Paul Ween. And my dad said, rest in peace, go knock him in the fucking nose. Big dude. I was, 10 years old, like 5 inches taller than me. I walked up to the guy and I just hit him in the nose. He went running away crying. That's what you do, And I kicked my ass 2 days later. but we, back then you became friends, and I was friends with the guy. I don't know. I looked him on Facebook. That's it. But he's right, Brad. And we're gonna get out of here we're gonna get out of here because we need to stop bullying and we need to laugh. And that guy, get your face in there, Brad. Move yourself over, and then these two guys, the guy in the middle and the guy next to him, they make you laugh because this is what they do. This is what they're put on this earth to do. And I said earlier, this guy's with Don Rickles and my mom and Brad's and Nanny Klein. And you know what they're doing? They're laughing and they're complaining and they're making fun of people. It's okay to make fun of people. It's not bullying.
I agree. Richard Lewis, we love you and we'll never forget you. You made so many people laugh, and your laughter will continue with all the great stuff that you left behind. And we'll be seeing you on the last episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm coming in April. Don't miss it. I saw it already. It's fantastic, and he's fantastic. Number 51 is in the books, everybody. That's Eric Fish Schneider. That's Richard Lewis. And I'm Brad Grunny Grunberg, a.k.a. Snacks. We'll see you next time on Fat Fish.
You've been listening to the Fat Fish Podcast, heard on all your favorite platforms. Until next time.
All right.
Love you, buddy. Good stuff.
I love you. Great show, man.
Good. Hey, Richard. Good.